Nismo 400R. If you know Nissan Skylines or spent hours perfecting your line around Trial Mountain in Gran Turismo, you'll know all about this car. If you don't, well, let me try to explain. The Nismo 400R was launched in '97 as a kind of celebration of the Skyline's efforts at Le Mans in '95 and '96 with the outrageous but outgunned GT-R LM. The Le Mans spec Skyline spawned just one GT-R LM road car as per GT1 regulations at the time. But the 400R, less extreme but still lighter, faster and tuned for track driving, was a more viable road car project, utilising certain motorsport components including a bigger 2.8 litre version of the legendary RB straight-six engine. It was hand-built at Nismo's Amori factory and just 44 were delivered to customers. A yellow 400R was also the poster car for the original Gran Turismo game. It was a mighty monster of a car and could be tuned to 800 horsepower, eat up pretty much anything else in the game, and it was unobtainable, which automatically meant it was about as cool as you could get. Watching the real thing on slightly shonky videos out of Japan on the internet just added to the allure.
So that's the 400R fantasy, fueled by Gran Turismo and grainy YouTube vids of best motoring. But how does this car feel nearly 20 years later? And not a Suzuka or firing through Tokyo in the dead of night, but on a bumpy moorland road, more suited to a hot hatch than a Japanese road racer? The answer, I'm relieved to say, is mostly brilliant. Things that really date older cars really are damping and body control. But the suspension on this car now feels pretty much spot on. I'm sure if these had come to Europe in '96, we would have said too harsh, all the rest of it at the time. But it's like the rest of the world's caught up to what these cars are doing. And although there's a real physicality and it's quite bumpy at low speeds, the payback at higher speeds is really, really good body control. Beyond that sense of precision and accuracy, this car's got some really good things going on. First and foremost, it is just coursing with feel and feedback. To start with, it actually feels a little bit leaden, everything feels a bit heavy, the engine, even the steering. But as you learn to keep the motor on boost and to carry speed through the corners, it just sort of comes alive. There's this real gritty feedback to the steering and there's no kickback at all. It feels really well located. Another thing that makes the car feel surprisingly modern. And just forget understeer on the road. Doesn't happen. Basically, this car wants to drive into oversteer out of the turns. It feels so well balanced.
The 400R really was a ground-up rethink of a standard R33 GT-R V-spec, and there's almost too many changes to mention. The foundation of it all is the Le Mans proven 2.8 litre straight-six, known as the RBX GT2. Quite apart from having the best engine name ever, it also produced 395 horsepower at 6,800 RPM and 347 pounds-foot at 4,400, and it was built by a subdivision of Nissan, who also built the all-conquering Group A engines, motors for the Dakar, and of course Le Mans. Power is distributed by the same intelligent four-wheel drive system with a torque vectoring active rear LSD. Then there's the GT-R LM style bonnet made from carbon fibre, a titanium strut brace, carbon fibre rear spoiler, carbon fibre drive shaft, those gorgeous 3-piece 18-inch wheels. Suspension featured stiffer bushes, new Bilstein dampers, and a much more aggressive spring rate with a 30mm drop in ride height. With Nismo, there are no half measures, and the 400R just exudes their attention to detail and obsessive search for performance.
This drivetrain does take some getting used to. That brilliantly named RBX GT2 engine has the same sense of sort of off-boost lethargy that you get in all Skylines, but then it really comes alive at 3,500 RPM. It rips round to 5.5, but you do find yourself changing gear sort of 6,000 reps, even though it will go to nearly 8. If you do hold on to the gear, it still feels really, really quick. But you have to work to get the performance out of this car, really read the road ahead, get busy with that 5-speed gearbox, and just get involved. It absolutely demands that. And I think that's what I really, really love about it. I guess if there is a disappointment, it's that even when you give it everything, this engine, it feels unburstable, but it's never really zinging with energy. But to be honest, that hardly matters, because the 400R manages this really amazing trick, which is to combine a big, burly, old school feel with unbelievable response and grip. And that's just such a wicked combination. It's almost unbelievable that it's nearly 20 years old. This car's like the original digital icon car. But when you drive it, there's this intense physical connection, which I don't think people would expect, but it's just shot through this car. It really is. I was worried that if you took away the 400R's identity as the fastest, wildest thing on four wheels, which time inevitably has, you'd be left with something empty. But this car's real trick is to immerse the driver absolutely and completely. And that is something that can never, ever get old.
To watch our unique drive of the Calsonic Group A R32 Skyline, click on the left, or to hear the wild Mazda RX-7 Racer that won the Spa 24 Hours, click on the right. And don't forget to subscribe to Evo's YouTube channel for more videos just like this.